What's going on there, Gotcha Gang? Kawaii50 here with another FGO video, here to talk about the Majin Saber herself, Okita Souji Alter. And if you're here just waiting for me to go, Okita bad, lol 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 lol, well, that ain't gonna happen. That ain't gonna happen. We are going to instead talk about Okita Souji Alter's stats, the best craft essences to equip on Okita Souji Alter, and just in general, the best way to utilize her in your team. Don't let people meme to you that Okita Alter isn't worth using until her strengthening quest in a year. While it definitely does help immensely, there are plenty of ways to still use her effectively. So Okita Souji Alter is another servant joining the Alter Ego class, which is pretty weird, but honestly pretty cool. She has a quick arts buster deck with a buster noble phantasm as well, and we'll get into her noble phantasm in just a moment because it's a very important part of her kit. But almost as important as that are her quick cards, which hit 5 times, and with a 10.2% star generation, that ain't nothing to slouch about. Okita Alter is going to be pretty decent at that star generation, especially in the upcoming era of Scotty, which you should be super excited about. But moving on from that, let's talk about her skills. And we're not going to go over her passive skills because it's super quick. What matters is that she gets crit strength up plus 10%. There, I saved you like 5 minutes. So Okita's first skill is Kyokuchi, rank A, and I'm not just being a weeb and trying to say it in the original Japanese, they're keeping it in the NA version. So in your face, anti-weebs. Okita's got plus 20% quick card effectiveness, plus 20% buster card effectiveness, and this is going to last for 3 turns, eventually going up to 30% at rank 10, and on a 6-turn cooldown, that really isn't that bad, gang. I would highly recommend that you maximize this first, because it's not only going to up Okita's overall damage, but it's also going to up Okita's overall star generation like we just talked about earlier. Those quick cards, that buster card, those are the most important parts of Okita's deck. That arts card, not a super big deal. Don't super worry about that. So Okita's second skill, Food on rank B, is the one that is primed for a strengthening in the future. And we are going to talk about both versions of it because after it gets upgraded, your strategy with Okita Alter is going to end up changing significantly. So Food on rank B initially charges her NP gauge by 20 to 30% and increases her star absorption by 300 to 500% for 1 turn. So the second this skill is initially presented to you, it is going to make Okita Alter a little more bursty. You're going to end up using it on strong turns where you know that she has a stacked deck to deal a ton of damage in one quick go. And you're really going to have to be sort of strategic about this. You're going to have to know, okay, this is the turn I'm going to have Okita Alter go all in on that damage. There really isn't much of a margin for error. You kind of just have to play smart when it comes to utilizing this skill effectively in the state that it is packaged to you in. I would still recommend upgrading this second, though. So you are going to be waiting about a year for Food on rank B to get upgraded to Food on rank B+, but it really gains a very powerful skill attached to it. Everything else is going to stay the same, but is going to increase Okita's attack 3 times for 3 turns, and that is going to be a 10 to 20% boost. Basically a little bit of a charisma added on to that. Now, the fact that this is 3 times over the course of 3 turns means you have a little more leeway when you pop this. You can pop this more focusing on the NP gauge charge, and you can have that attack hang over for a longer period of time. You're able to not necessarily need a stacked Okita deck to make this ability the most effective. Yes, you do want to worry about that critical star absorption sometimes, and yes, this skill is going to give you a boost not only to that round of critical damage if you use this on the exact same turn and use it with a stacked deck, but you're also going to get a bonus to the damage dealt by Okita's Noble Phantasm. Overall, just a really magnificent upgrade for this skill, one that was sorely needed and one you should be excited about when it ends up hitting NA. And Okita Alter's final skill, the one I recommend you level last, is Muhen rank A. This increases her NP strength by 20 to 30% for 1 turn, and also applies an evade to her 1 time that can activate anywhere in the course of the next 3 turns. So you're mainly going to be using this to boost her NP strength. Using this with the rest of her skills that we previously mentioned is going to end up getting you a significant portion of Okita's damage. This is what a lot of her damage with her Noble Phantasm chains is tied to. But the really nice little bonus on top of this is it grants Okita Alter a little bit of extra survivability. Having that evade be 1 time over 3 turns instead of just once for that turn or through the course of the entire turn is going to give Okita a little bit more leeway when it comes to enemies attacking. Maybe an enemy won't attack her that turn. Maybe they'll fire off a Noble Phantasm and Okita will be able to avoid it. Even if it's just a single target Noble Phantasm attacking somebody else and then Okita is the target of an attack after that, well, she avoided that attack. Overall, probably one of the best variants of evade she could get, and a really, really nice little bonus on top of this great NP strength boost. And of course, we've got to talk about Okita Souji Alter's Noble Phantasm, which is Zekken Mukyu Sandan rank A. This deals 300 to 500% damage to all enemies and also decreases the buster resist of all those enemies by 30 to 50% for 3 turns. Now, this is actually where most of the problems with Okita Souji Alter come into play, because the decreased buster resist for all enemies activates after the damage is dealt. Why could it not have been activated before the damage is dealt? But this is okay. There are ways to get around this. There are ways to charge up Okita's Noble Phantasm that we're going to talk about when it comes to the companions you're going to send her on missions with. And in general, this Noble Phantasm actually still ends up being okay for farming, because we've got all of those other buffs in Okita's kit. This ends up actually doing respectable damage when it comes time to look into that class advantage. Class advantage is key, gang. You should always be exploiting it with all of your characters. Now, I know we normally talk about all things related to stats in the beginning of the video, but there is something here I really do want to hammer home, and that is Okita Souji Alter's attack stat. With 12,465 attack at this moment in time, that gives her the 5th highest attack in the entire game. So yes, a lot of people out there do say alter ego class bad, debatable, really debatable, but Okita has a very, very solid attack base, and that is why that second skill upgrade is so key, because 10 to 20% on the highest attack stats in the game, one of the top 5 attack stats in the game, that is amazing. That is a significant boost. That is a lot of extra damage. So please remember that when it comes to Okita Alter. Now, I'm sure a lot of you out there are wondering, who do I pair Okita Alter with besides my typical quick and buster supports, my Scotty and my Merlin? Because you can't have somebody there on the field that is going to gobble up all of those critical stars easily, because Okita Alter needs those critical stars if she is going to be your main damage dealer. So, here's a couple of suggestions I have for you. For starters, I recommend Chiron, but only if you give him Golden Catches the Carp and you switch him out immediately. Yes, his buffs are very, very strong for Okita Souji Alter. Wisdom of Divine Gift is absolutely incredible, and Eternal Dedication rank EX is something she would absolutely love to have. But his Archer class is going to eat up all of those critical stars that she needs to deal that damage. So, send him in. Golden Catches the Carp on him grants you a bunch of critical stars immediately. Switch him out with the plug suit for any kind of other supporter you might have on the field after blowing all of those buffs on Okita Souji Alter, and you are going to have a force to be reckoned with for 3 turns. Really easy to clean up missions with that. And after she gains her desperately needed upgrades, I've absolutely got to recommend Osakabe Hime, one of the best girls in the game. Yes, I like her English localization. Stay mad. Now, why is Osakabe Hime so good for Okita Souji Alter? Starters, she is in the assassin class, so she's not going to eat up a lot of those stars. She's going to generate those stars instead. Her upgraded Noble Phantasm will not only provide quick effectiveness as it did before, but is also going to provide Buster effectiveness as well. Buster cards, quick cards, both of these things Okita Souji Alter wants to have increased. So this buff right here is just beautiful on her. On top of that, when her morph gets upgraded to 4 Gods Divination, that is going to grant not only increased defense for Okita, keeping her alive, but is also going to grant a bonus to all allies' critical damage, a 30 to 50% bonus. Something that is going to make Okita Souji Alter really gain a bunch out of all that star gather she gets from her second skill. Okita is going to be good, you just gotta wait. I'm really glad I pulled her after looking at these buffs. Now, what craft essences should we give Okita Souji Alter? Well, for your freebie recommendations, I've definitely got to recommend Wolves of Mibu, which you should have got a copy during the Guda Guda Meiji Inshin rerun. Maybe you have 2 completely max limit broken right now. Increases Buster and Quick Performance by 10% and grants 4 critical stars every single turn. All of the bonuses from this craft essence's stats go firmly into attack, increasing Okita Souji Alter's already monstrous attack. There's also, of course, Golden Sumo that is going to grant Okita Souji Alter a massive attack boost on top of her already huge attack stat, and also grant her some starting NP gauge as well. So, with the right supports, with her second skill leveled, it's very, very easy for her to turn 1 NP with that craft essence equipped. But as for Okita Alter's absolute best craft essence, Rivalry of Local Warlords, not only has the benefit of being illustrated by the magnificent Kei Suwabe, one of my favorite FGO artists, but on top of that, it also grants Buster and Quick Performance plus 10% and a starting 40% NP gauge. You limit break that is 12% Buster and Quick Performance and a starting 50% NP gauge. This checks all of the boxes Okita Souji Alter could ever want. Buster up, Quick up, and a starting NP gauge to use that NP. It's just beautiful. Overall, I really don't think you should listen to the haters because Okita Souji Alter is a pretty decent servant. Is she a single target monster like Melt is? Absolutely not. Is she gonna be as good at farming as Kiara because Kiara's got those arts loops? Probably not. But we still have packaged here a respectable servant who can still deal AoE damage, who can still grant Buster resist down, which, if you'll remember, I've said this time and time again, that's what makes Karna so monstrous. That's what makes Karna so good on teams. And on top of that, she has a lot of not only viable support options in the game right now, but viable support options coming soon in the form of both new characters as well as characters that are only getting stronger with rank up quests as the game continues to grow and evolve. If you pull Okita Souji Alter, I think you should be happy. I think she is definitely a servant worth getting excited over, a servant that is worth being happy about. But of course, I want to know all of your thoughts as well. Let me know anything you might think about Okita Souji Alter down in the comments. Let me know if maybe you got a different skill order, if you can recommend some good craft essences you think I might have missed, if you think you can recommend some good teammates that I might have missed for Okita Souji Alter, and just in general, let me know how excited you are for her. If you pulled her, share your excitement with us in the comments below if you're watching this after she has come out. As always, I hope you're having a phenomenal day. I will see you all in the next video.